something in Paul's call to Macedonia that always makes me chuckle. God uses the image of this strapping Macedonian man to get Paul's attention, not unlike the way God used the vision of the sheep with unclean animals to get Peter's attention. There was no Macedonian man who looked precisely like the man in Paul's image, any more than Peter was literally supposed to eat a lizard. The Macedonian was symbolic. He was designed to capture Paul's attention and invite cooperation with God's plan. When Paul gets to Philippi, he finds some women down by the river, and that is where the founding of the new church begins. As the story unfolds, he encounters the slave girl possessed by an unclean spirit and exploited by her master. In time, he finds the jailer after he is in jail. In time, all these individuals collectively are the Macedonian man, longing for the message Paul would bring. And isn't this just the way of God with us? We cannot know precisely what we signed on for when we commit our lives to God. As we seek the fullness of God's Spirit to live in us, we are not given a detailed blueprint, because if we knew everything that is coming, we would be overcome by fear and pride. We would try to engineer circumstances that only God could bring about. We would misrepresent God. We would run away if we knew about all the trials that await us, and we would swell with self-importance if we saw the incredible impact of our faith. It is for our protection that we are given what we need to know, step by step. As my friend Wendy Miller, a veteran spiritual director, often says, as we do the work of God, we are the work of God. What we can know for sure is that when we respond faithfully to God's call, we know we are going with God, come what may. The promise of God's presence and power, the Spirit's leading, are what give us courage. The joy of the Lord increasingly becomes our strength. As we follow Paul's missionary journey through the middle chapters of Acts, we see faithful servants of God learning to practice discernment by paying attention to the way closing in Bithynia. The Spirit of Jesus sometimes closes doors and does not tell us why. When that happens, we stop trying to open the closed door. The school of discernment continues as Paul and his friends encounter Lydia and the other women praying by the river. Because Paul's heart is open to the Holy Spirit, he is glad to go with Lydia and accept her offer to allow her home to be the hub for the newly forming church. It does not throw him off that she's not a strapping Macedonian man. When Paul and Silas run into opposition because their liberating ministry frees the slave girl from a spirit, they find themselves in jail. It is time for another lesson in the school of following Jesus. Sometimes doing the right thing gets us into a lot of hot water. Obedience to God brings great blessing, great joy, but can at the same time bring great suffering. And so this story continues. We find the wisdom of Paul that is gained through these missional endeavors deeply reflected in his prison letters written later, especially the letter to the church at Philippi. Following Jesus means taking up the pattern of giving ourselves to God and becoming the work of God.